Who can say for nothing day and certainly make it all seem worthwhile? Well, it's you, boy, and you should know it. With each glance and every little movement to show it. Love is all around, no need to waste it. You can never tell, why don't you take it? You're gonna make it after all. You're gonna make it after all.
I have been writing with insufficient passion lately. Oh, hi there, and welcome to Idle Exchange, the show that puts the party back in repartee. As always, I am your host, Malcolm Fleschner. If you're like me, more times than you care to recall, people come up to you and say, Malcolm, your nose looks like a yam, only maybe mutated or perhaps diseased. Or maybe your problem is that you've got a little too much back fat that, well, no matter how much you diet, it just won't seem to go away. Then again, it could be that you've developed some crow's feet that, well, these are the type of feet that just don't walk away on their own. Well, regardless of what your personal malady or physical disfigurement is, you're going to be glad you tuned into Idle Exchange today. That's because my guest is Dr. Barry Cohen, a noted D.C. area plastic and reconstructive surgeon who is also the founder of TotalSkincare.com, which is an online service where people can go and get products and information about improving their skincare. So first of all, I'd like to thank you, Dr. Cohen, for coming on to Idle Exchange.
Thank you for having me.
I'm glad to do it. And I have a lot of questions, a lot of things I want to talk to you about plastic surgery, because I think it's very interesting. But first thing, I guess you can tell me a little bit about your practice and what it consists of and the kind of procedures you typically perform.
I have a pretty diverse practice in plastic surgery. It's probably about 80% cosmetic in nature. I do a lot of facial rejuvenation surgery, facelifts, brow lifts, eyelids, a fair bit of breast surgery that includes augmentation of the breast, making them larger with implants, smaller breast reductions, lifts, or mastopexies. The practice also does a lot of tummy tucks and liposuction, body contouring procedures, and we do a fair number of nose surgeries too.
And well, is that pretty much the range of?
Well, that's a range of cosmetic practice that I do. I also have a fair bit of burn reconstruction in my practice, okay, which is an interest of mine. It's more of a hobby than anything else. I really enjoy doing burn reconstruction.
I do. I'm into that too. It's funny.
Small world.
Yeah, I'm surprised I haven't seen you at conventions. And what are there other sort of reconstructive work that you do, like car accident victims or things like that?
Sure. We are also available to the emergency rooms to take care of patients who have broken bones in their face, lacerations, particularly in the face in children. We also do a lot of hand surgery, which is not something that's well known about the plastic surgery practice. For whatever reasons, plastic surgery evolved in taking care of everything about the hand, including broken bones in the hand. So you might think that orthopods might take care of most hand injuries, and when in fact in this area at least plastic surgeons do most of it. So we do finger reattachments and fixed nerves and tendons and broken bones in the hand as well.
And what about the feet? Do you do that? I mean, if you have a severed toe, would that be?
Well, we could, but we generally will send it off to the podiatrist.
Feet are kind of gross, really.
They are.
Let's be honest, yeah. Well, let's tell me a little bit about, speaking of the elective surgeries, which ones are the most common that you, I mean, are breast implants the most common? I think that there's a lot of those, but also, I guess, facelifts and, I don't know, what do you're doing the most of, generally?
Well, it really depends upon the age range you're talking about. If you're looking at people between the ages of 18 and 35, liposuction probably ranks as the #1 procedure. In my practice, liposuction and breast implants are neck and neck in that age range. When you start getting into more advanced ages like me, you're looking at facelifts and eyelids.
You're talking about like mid-30s?
Yeah, thank you. You know, mid-40s to 60-year-old folks are going to be coming in for facial rejuvenation. Again, that constitutes lots of different surgeries, from facelifts to Botox injections to collagen injections to dermabrasion or microdermabrasion and laser surgery. So there's the gamut of plastic surgery really depends upon the age range you're talking about. And then there's, of course, the 16 to 20-year-old who might come in for nose surgery, or those who put it off till later in life.
You're looking at me. Well, I guess I'm the only person here, but I sense something in your eye. But so if you're 16 to 20, if you're under 18, can you come in and do you need a guardian or a parent to approve surgery?
Sure,
like that?
you can't get surgery unless if you're under age 18 without a parent signing a consent for you.
And what about, you mentioned age obviously is a one breakdown, but what about gender? Do men get as many facelifts as women get, or what do men tend to get versus women?
About 85% of cosmetic surgery in general is female still. 15%, if my math is right, still men.
Hang on a second, let me.
I have a calculator here. If you like.
Well, let's do it. Let's do it during a break.
Okay. I think the math is is correct.
I'll trust you on that.
There's an increasing trend though for men, and I think that's probably because, as with all of the high-tech industries out there, there's less and less premium on gray hair and lack thereof. I think there's still a premium on that in my community, but if you look at the people who are out there in the tech industry, there is no premium, and so people really want to look younger. There's the 35-year-old CEOs of companies are very common, and in fact, people who are mid-40s and beyond are viewed as antiquated and not knowing.
You could say old fart. It's
old
all right.
fart, yeah. Don't know what they're doing, and so people want to remain competitive and men are coming in more and more for cosmetic.
And so men get facelifts, get nose job isn't really a youth
That's
thing.
not a gender oriented thing.
But so what do the men tend to get? What are the procedures that you see men?
Liposuction is way up there. Men have a tough problem with love handles and their bellies. They want liposuction and.
Preaching to the converted here.
I know. I'm waiting to find a plastic surgeon that I trust to do my own. But
I only hope some of your partners are watching.
No, they are. And nose surgery, men's pretty common as well. Also, many men, particularly people who've used steroids, will get male breast enlargement. They have that and they want it fixed. And so liposuction or gynecomastia reduction in men is a pretty common thing as well.
So men who take steroids tend to have breast development that doesn't go away when they stop.
That's right.
Well, I better stop now then. But and so you would be called into do you get a 2-for-1 deal if you and your wife both have breast surgery?
No, but in our practice, if you buy one side, you get the other side free.
I'm sure you have a lot of jokes that are very amusing in the office about some of the people that you really would not want your patients to hear. That's my guess. I don't want you to necessarily share them with me either. What about breakdown in terms of ethnicity, black people versus white people, or other cultures coming in that to this country? Is that something you see frequently at certain cultures that they want to get certain things done?
Well, my practice is probably about 15 to 20% people of Asian descent. I train with a pretty well-known Korean plastic surgeon up in New York, is one of the guys I train with, and there's while many of the Asian patients will get very similar things to their African American and Caucasian counterparts, they also have other issues that they're concerned about which are different, such as nose surgery in many Asian patients or nose augmentation, making their noses larger. And many Asian patients will not have an eyelid fold and they'll want one created. So that's sort of a niche market, if you will, in cosmetic surgery, which I do quite a bit of.
Yeah, I've thought about getting that nose augmentation myself. A lot of people suggest it to me, but I've held off so far. But say then, one thing you wanted to talk about earlier that you mentioned is if someone is considering getting a procedure done, how to find a good, so say I'm a Colombian drug lord and I need to change my face so that I can't be recognized.
My partner's great.
Is he good for that?
Yeah, he's really great.
Well, we'll try to flash his name and number also for all, because that's a lot of my audience.
Everybody else, I'm happy to see.
But someone comes, so someone decides they want to get plastic surgery of some sort. What is the procedure they go through to find a good plastic surgeon that's going to match their needs?
Well, I think the first thing is that people should, particularly the D.C. area, look for a board-certified plastic surgeon. The American Board of Plastic Surgery is the accrediting board that gives people certification to practice. There are people in town doing cosmetic surgery, believe it or not, without that. Now, some of those people are just out of residency, and you can't become board certified for at least a year and a half into practice. So if someone's quite young, then they may not have their boards yet, which doesn't mean they're bad, but it might mean they have a little bit less experience than you might want for cosmetic surgery reasons.
Might mean deep discounts, too.
That's true. Excuse me. But there are people in town who are doing cosmetic surgery who are dermatologists, gynecologists, and they may or may not do a terrific job. I submit to you and to your viewing audience that if you're going in for an elective cosmetic procedure and there's 100 board-certified plastic surgeons in town, that it probably is wise to select from among that group. There are, in fact, more plastic surgeons who are board-certified per capita in D.C. than anywhere in the country, including Manhattan and L.A. and really everywhere else. So you have a lot of good people to choose from. And then, you know, you want to find someone who's relatively close to you, who most people will get a few consultations and find a personality that you mesh with, a philosophy that you mesh with. Many doctors are paternalistic, and they will say, put yourself in my brilliant and talented hands and see things my way, and I'm much more view this as a partnership, and I want to know what you want, and I want to know, I want you to participate in your own care. And so you need to find someone that you like, and frankly, prices also play a role. There are prices all over the board for any given procedure in D.C., and I'm not telling people to go out and shop for the lowest price necessarily, but there's a huge range of variability, and typically the more people advertise, the higher the prices tend to be. And so you need to look at that as well.
So well, what are I mean, in terms of pricing, what are the more expensive and less expensive procedures? I would imagine the liposuction is pretty expensive, whereas maybe a tuck or well, I don't know, but like a facelift might be. I don't know. What are the prices? What are the more expensive?
Well, liposuction is generally charged by the site. So if a site might be your abdomen or your love handles, or your inner thighs or outer thighs, and the ranges are really all over the board, depending upon whether you have the surgery done in the office under a local with a little bit of oral sedation, or you're going to sleep and you're paying for an anesthesiologist at a facility. You know, most of the procedures you're looking at are in the anywhere from $2,000 to $5,000 range for liposuction. Breast implants are in our office are in the low to mid $4,000 range, and that includes a board-certified anesthesiologist and an accredited facility. And facelifts really depends upon what the patients are getting done. I mean, there's lower face neck lifts, there's mid faces, brow lifts, and eyelids. So facial rejuvenation really is all over the board, and people actually get discounted prices for having multiple procedures done at the same time.
Right, that makes sense.
And which brings to mind the issue of facility too, because there are many doctors who are board-certified plastic surgeons who operate in their office, and it's an important question.
Or their garage,
or their garage, or their basement,
sure.
or their
meet you in the park
Humvee
after
in
dark.
the park, right? But the important thing is that that the facility should be accredited by some certifying body, and there are accrediting bodies such as the Quad ASF or the JCAH that will give accreditation, which means they deem that facility safe and has all the resuscitation equipment that a hospital might have. And then finally, who's your anesthesia? A nurse anesthetist, a nurse, or a board-certified anesthesiologist. And you need to compare apples with apples when you're determining pricing and who you're going to choose.
And when someone comes into your office and says, well, I've been thinking about this procedure or that, what have you, what's the process you go through in talking it over with them and then coming to an agreement about what's best for them?
Well, most people come with a discrete complaint, such as, I don't like my neck, or my eyelids are dropping, or I want larger breasts, and then it's quite simple, and we'll go through the surgery, we'll discuss the risks and complications associated with that surgery, we'll discuss costs involved, we'll discuss the downtime and the recovery process and what the expectations really are that are realistic for that individual. And then after that, the patient's usually going to go home. If they're doing some facial work, we might do some computer imaging. There's usually a physical examination involved in the consultation. And then people will go home, they'll get a letter from our office, which again reviews the risks and complications, which I make them sign, because many people come in and they're scared, they're listening, or they have unrealistic expectations, and they hear one thing and you say another. So we send them a letter, we make them sign it, discuss, acknowledging that they really know what the downsides are. And then people can come back in and talk again, or they can schedule the procedure at that point.
Well, speaking of the imaging, earlier we went into your office and we took a look at what would happen if maybe I were to get a little work done, or at least what it would look like if I were thinking about it. And I think we have that footage Ken, if we can roll that. We're here in Dr. Cohen's office, and he's going to show me what I would look like if I were beautiful and had the benefit of his handiwork under the knife. So let's see what I look like now, and then oh,
well, the breast implants when inserted will go something like this.
Oh wow, that's
just one side.
I'll never leave the house. And do I have to get them both at the same time, or can I?
No, you don't. You can stage them, but we do have a special going on this month. Buy one, get one free.
Do you have any sort of nipple? Because I'd like to get the nipple action.
We can do that. Pencil erasers also work very well.
And if you get thirsty,
we fill them with vodka for a small extra charge. Okay, so let's get you with the imaging.
Take a look at me on the imaging.
We got your picture before, and the miracles of modern computer technology. We have.
Ta-da!
Cruise.
Wow, talk about Mission Impossible, making me look good, huh? That's amazing. So you have essentially just turned my convex nose concave. The bridge of my nose is convex, and you've sort of inverted it a little bit, right? Basically.
Correct.
And what about the chin? Can you raise the chin a little?
That we can take care of that for you pretty promptly. Voila.
Look at that, I'm Kirk Douglas all of a sudden. What if I got the full package? How much, what would this nose cost me approximately, do you think?
With anesthesia and facility and doctor services and follow-up care, somewhere around $5,000.
Tax, title included, all that good, yeah.
And that comes with a warranty, I might add, for 1 year or 30,000 miles, whichever comes first.
What about with the boobs?
Well, for you, I would do everything with the breast to get those implants in you for $3,000.
If I were to get the whole package, the eye lift, the tummy tuck, the boobs if you want, or the whole facial package with a complete overhaul, like you bring a car and they say you need complete overhaul. What could you do for me?
Let's see. I think you would probably look something like this.
Wow, not bad. So, and how much would that cost me approximately?
If you have to ask, Malcolm, it's just out of your range.
Well, you know what? Of late, I've been thinking that inner beauty is really important too, and I've been emphasizing that. But thank you very much for allowing us to come in and invade your office and showing me what I would look like if I were beautiful. And I have to go back outside to my ugly self, and we'll go back to the studio now and finish our conversation with Dr. Cohen. But thanks for doing this. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Well, that was interesting. Actually, I've already had some work done on my nose, mostly back in junior high when Ed Rafel used to beat me up pretty much regularly. But he didn't charge so much, just my lunch money. But what I'd like to talk now about is whether people come in. I know you said they come in, they say, oh well, I got a little waddle or whatever it is they want in my what do they call it? The love handles. And but do they ever come in and say, you know what I'd really like is to have Brad Pitt's nose or Jay Leno's chin or whatever, what have you, and can you do that for me, like a hairdresser? You're going to say, I want Jennifer Aniston's hair. I mean, do plastic surgeons operate that way?
No.
No. Okay, well, that answers the question.
No, they don't operate that way. You have to look at the structure of someone's face, and particularly with noses, you can come close to achieving a certain effect, but the skin envelope plays a big role in what you have to work with, and where the nasal bones take off from your face will play also a role. And so you really can't promise somebody else's appearance. What a picture will do for me is give me an idea of how big or how small in general somebody wants to look, but not the exact replica. And even the video imaging is not an exact replica or a promise of what people are going to get. It's really an instructional element to the practice.
Well, let's talk a little bit about some of the recent innovations, one of which I guess that has been all the rage is Botox, which it's sort of interesting how on the one hand we're running away from anthrax, and on the other hand we're injecting Botox into ourselves until we find out that anthrax maybe gets rid of love handles, but and everything else for that matter. But what is the deal with Botox, and whose idea was it to say, hey, let's inject botulism into somebody's face and see what that does?
I don't know where it started, but it's been used for years and years for people who have muscle spasms, particularly around their eye. And it was FDA approved for non-cosmetic use, oh gosh, you know, at least 5 or 10 years. I don't even know when it began. And then it became popular and people realized, hey, you know, injecting this and the wrinkles went away. What does Botox do? It's purified botulism toxin.
Delicious.
It's delicious.
Oh.
And what it does is it paralyzes the muscles locally. So wherever you inject it, the muscles don't work. So let's say we injected your bicep muscle throughout, you wouldn't be able to flex it. If we inject your over here, you're going to wind up not being able to smile or produce a smile that's going to cause wrinkling over here. If you inject it across your brow, you're not going to be able to raise your brow. And those are, if you inject your furrow here, you won't be able to get that concerned look.
You can never look confused again.
That's correct. And it works very well in getting rid of wrinkles that are dynamic. And dynamic wrinkles are those wrinkles that occur in the corners of your eyes when you smile or when you furrow your brow. They don't do anything for static wrinkles like people have, you know, smokers' lines along their faces. That needs to be treated with other means.
Well, when you talked earlier about when people come in and what the process is that they go through, and I was just wondering if there are some people who come in and they think they need a procedure done or they really want it, and maybe they don't. And you talk about it and you see there's really not a good reason for you to be in here. And I mean, are there patients you will turn down?
Oh, a large number. The most common is the patients coming in for liposuction who are overweight. I mean, it's a fallacy that liposuction is meant for weight reduction. It's not. You lose very little weight with liposuction. Liposuction is really meant for, intended, and best used for people who have diet or exercise resistant fat deposits but are at or close to their ideal body weight. The people who come in who are overweight are the ones who have the big problems, complications after surgery. They go on and they continue to gain weight and they look worse because the remaining fat deposits, cells that you have are very irregular, and they get magnified and they get lumpier and they get more irregular as they continue to gain weight, and they deposit fat in other areas and they look dysmorphic or bizarre. So we turn down probably at least 50% of the patients who come into the office for liposuction. I
mean, I've heard about people, like I heard about one guy who, he sort of looked like Tom Arnold. I don't know if you know, you've heard about this guy, but he's had numerous procedures done to make him look more like Tom Arnold. And that would seem like a referral to a psychiatrist to me more than anything else. But is that, I mean, if someone came in and said, I want to look more like Tom Arnold, I mean, earlier you said you don't do that necessarily, but if they said, I want to have my cheekbones raised to look like Tom Arnold, would you say, sure, okay, you want it, I'll do it?
You know, I think you really need to look at the psyche behind patients as well. You know, the people who come in, a better example might be, you know, a person who is just going through a separation. They're trying to get back at their spouse, or they're trying to prove something, and who have poor motivations for a surgery. You really need to be careful, because that's a setup for patients who are going to be really unhappy with the outcome and with you. And so, you know, we are psychiatrists with a knife to some degree, and you have to be pretty careful with your patient selection so that you don't get in trouble after surgery.
Psychiatrist with a knife, I had one of those and it didn't work out so well, but you bring up a good point, which is there are good reasons and bad reasons that you discuss with them, and we have a little comedy routine or bit that we do here on Idle Exchange called Good Reasons versus Bad Reasons, and I'd like to share that with you now and with the viewing audience at home. And it's about breast implants, because there are, I'm sure you've experienced, there are good reasons to get breast implants. And no, wait, there are no bad reasons. So, oh no, wait, we do have a couple. So, for example, number one, a good reason to get breast implants might be that you believe they will improve your self-confidence, whereas a bad reason to get breast implants would be you believe they will improve your buoyancy. See, because that's, of course, not a good reason. Or a good reason to get breast implants is because you're so flat-chested you look like a man, whereas a bad reason to get breast implants would be you're so flat-chested because you are a man.
That's true.
Then a good reason to get breast implants, it's as a surprise birthday present for your still frisky husband. Bad reason to get breast implants, as a surprise birthday present for your still nursing 15-year-old son.
That's true too.
Yeah. See, these are very true. I mean, this is, you know, this could be in some sort of textbook perhaps for future plastic surgeons. Good reason to get breast implants, your husband is a self-described breast man, in quotes. Whereas a bad reason to get breast implants is he was talking about chicken. And then last one, good reason to get breast implants, you think they might save your career if you get a shot at a professional modeling gig. And bad reason to get breast implants, you think they might save your life if you get shot at. I don't know if
That's true.
that's realistic.
That's why we often will fill our implants for a little bit more money with vodka. So if they rupture, and when they all do rupture, that at least it's a pretty
You get
good
a little
feeling.
buzz.
Right. Just kidding.
Well, one thing that I think a lot of people, and everybody I mentioned this topic to, has asked about Mary Tyler Moore. She looks terrible. And when you look at celebrities, can you tell, for example, if they've had work done pretty obviously?
You mean like Greta Van Susteren, who only had her eyes done? Yeah, usually you can. I mean, often you can. And I think that's a very Hollywood-esque approach to plastic surgery, and I think a bad one, frankly. I think it's not a good thing when someone comes up to you and say, "God, that's a great facelift." I mean, it's more of a compliment when someone comes up to you and say, "Gee, you look well rested," or "You've lost a little weight," or something. And that's really, I think that these celebrities are often display a stigmata of bad plastic surgery or overly done plastic surgery. And I think that's a very West Coast approach to plastic surgery.
Oh, really?
And DC tends to be much more conservative in the approach and the application of cosmetic surgery.
Is there an East Coast, West Coast thing like rap
Yes.
music?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I had suspected that more violent. You guys have knives after all.
That's right.
And, well, what about, like, is plastic surgery, is it more durable today, is it more lasting today than it was, say, 20 years ago? Because sometimes you look at aging film stars and you see they just look not only terrible, but like people don't age that way. And so if I get a procedure done nowadays, is it more likely to hold up than it would have, say, 20 years ago?
Well, the techniques for facial rejuvenation have definitely improved over the last 5 or 10 years. And the tendency to fix people in a more natural way and the deeper plane facelifts, which reproduce a more youthful appearance in a more natural way, definitely have improved the outcome. What are people going to be saying 10 years from now? I don't know. But in general, people who get facelifts will not age in the same way that people who've never had facial rejuvenation surgery, because the ligaments that attach your skin to the deeper planes of your face are actually divided during surgery. So when those retaining ligaments are divided, people drop in different ways than they would have otherwise. So I tell all my patients who are coming in for most lower face and neck lifts particularly, that in some ways you become a slave to the plastic surgeon, that you need to continue to maintain it or you will not look very good over time.
You like that power, don't you?
I do.
You are my slave. And what about when you're in social situations and you meet people, and you look at them?
I'm never in social sit-down.
Well, let's just theorize, shall we? Do you look at people and say, you know, this guy could use a nose job, or what I could do with your chin? You know, maybe you don't say it, but do you think that?
Sort of what you're thinking about when you meet women in a bar, right?
I don't think how I could improve them. Generally, I think, my wife is going to get really mad at me if I pursue this any further.
Well, I mean, I think it's sort of natural to think about that stuff, but it's not something that we will come up and talk about. But oftentimes, the minute you tell someone what you do, they sort of spill their desires and wills pretty readily.
Yeah, yeah. Well, here's an ethical dilemma for you. Your daughter, you have daughters, and they get older, and they come to you at, say, age 16 or 18, whatever, and say to you, I want to get breast implants.
My answer is I can't afford my partner's fees.
Do you give them a discount? That's the moral dilemma, it seems to me. No, we're almost out of time, actually, but before we go, I do want to get a plug-in for TotalSkincare.com, because this is your website, and it's something you do outside of, I guess, the plastic surgery. So if you could tell us just briefly a minute about what TotalSkincare.com is.
TotalSkincare.com is a website started in '98, which is a website really focused on disseminating information about skincare with a big library. We answer questions for people for free. And we also sell most of the physician-grade, although non-prescriptive, skincare lines that are on the market today, and do so in large volume.
So just TotalSkincare.com, go visit it. You can find out all about that. All right, we only have another minute left. I guess just in the last minute, I want to talk to you about sort of you mentioned it earlier about people wanting to look youthful. And sort of we have a culture of youth and beauty in this society that is unprecedented. And do you feel that plastic surgery that contributes to it, and maybe in a harmful way in any way, or that you're just responding to a need?
Probably both, in honesty. I think as the baby boomer generation gets older, that they really want to, they're looking better and they feel better and they want to look better. They're doing more to keep themselves youthful with exercise and eating well, and they want a persona and face and body to go along with what they're doing. And sometimes it requires plastic surgery. And clearly, too, all the advertising has increased the public awareness for the mainstream. And
that's why I never do anything active, so I don't even think that my appearance should match it. Well, Dr. Cohen, thank you very much for coming on to Idle Exchange. I really appreciate it. And until we finish production of the home version, you're going to have to satisfy yourself with the Practice Random Acts bumper sticker, which we give to all of our guests here on Idle Exchange. So that is yours to keep, whether you continue on to the bonus round.
Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. And I would also like to thank my crew and all of you for watching at home. And thank you for tuning in. And until next time, keep it running on Idle. Idle Exchange, that is. And we'll see you next time. Thanks for coming. Y'all come back now here.
You